Assalomu alaykum, hurmatli talabalar. Men Mavzum Akbarova O'zbekiston Milliy universiteti Horижий filologiya fakulteti Ingliz filologiyasi kafedrasi o'qituvchisiman. Bugungi darsimiz til o'rganayotganlarda o'qish ko'nikmasi va malakalarini rivojlantirishga mo'ljallangan fanning nomi o'rganilayotgan til, o'qish va yozish amaliyoti 3-kurs talabalari uchun. Darsimizni ingliz tilida olib boramiz. So, dear students, today we are going to talk about reading author's purpose and point of view. At the first stage of our today's lesson, we are going to discuss what the author's purpose and point of views are. So, dear students, if you are ready, let's start the lesson. First of all, let's define what is the author's purpose. I'm absolutely sure you all know that whatever you read, no matter what type of text it is, here is a purpose. And it is usually set by an author. According to the type of text, what the author is going to write, such as book, magazine, textbook, newspaper article, the author selects the words for his or her purpose. That means the author, first of all, sets the purpose, then defines what type of text he or she is going to write, then he or she chooses appropriate words for his selection. Now we can give a detailed definition to author's purpose. We can see here that the author's purpose is the main reason that the author has got for his or her writing selection. So the author's purpose is categorized into three, and they are to inform, to persuade, and to entertain the reader. Dear students, when you start reading a passage, the first task that you should do is to define the purpose. Please define what the author wants to do with this passage. Whether he wants to inform you about something, or whether he or she wants to persuade you, or it is just for pleasure, or the author's purpose is just to entertain. Now let's move to the author's point of view. When an author writes these three categories of purpose, the author will have his or her point of view. That means his opinion about the particular subject. On his selection, on his writing text, he or she writes how she thinks about this particular issue that he or she is describing in his selection. Now, I think you have understood what is the author's point of view. Now we can give a clear definition of author's point of view. So the viewpoints, or let's say point of views, are opinions of author on a particular subject. They show they show how author feels about the topic. Viewpoints reveal author's attitudes towards the subject. They are usually expressed in two ways, third person and first person. You can easily define if the author uses like I, we, us. That means the author's attitude is shown by the first person. If you see like the third person, he, she, that means the author's attitude is shown through the third person. And here we have two tones that the author reveals his attitudes. This is personal and impersonal tone. So let's move on. Author's writing, or let's say selection, reveals the author's assumptions, background, personal interest, and personal bias in a subject. Dear students, these all words best describe detailed definition of author's viewpoint. Now, let's move on talking about purpose. Now we will have further details on purpose. Let's discuss the categories of author's purpose one by one. And here the first one, it is to inform. When the author's purpose is to inform, his or her reader learns something from the selection. For example, history books, let's say history textbooks that we use at our schools, can be the best example to inform, because here the author's purpose is to inform you about historical events. So these information pieces are use one or more than one of the following. The first one, it is facts. Another one is details, instructions, places, events, and people. Well, when information pieces are such as facts, details, instructions, places, events, people are included, you can easily catch the purpose of the author. That means the author is going to inform you about something. Now let's move to the second category of the author's purpose. It is to persuade. So, when the author's purpose is to persuade, that means the author wants the reader to believe his or her position. The best example is here. Let's say the toothpaste Colgate advertisement. When you see the advertisement, the author wants you to use this toothpaste. He is persuading you. You see, these persuasive pieces are usually non-fiction, and these pieces clarify the author's viewpoint, whether he is for or against of the issue. Well, in our example, advertisement of Colgate toothpaste, we can see that the author is for. You see, here the procedure of setting the author's purpose, that is to persuade. So let's move to the third category. It is to entertain. One of the examples, one of the goals is to tell a story or to describe characters, places, or events. Here, the events or the places, whatever has been describing in the selection, can be real, that can be taken from real life, or it can be imagination of the author. So, the examples that the authors usually use to entertain their reader include plays, poems, stories, jokes, comic strips, even and etc. Here, the main reason why the author is writing this writing selection is to entertain the reader. So now we have analyzed all three categories of author's purpose. Now it's time to practice. So the first task that you are going to do is, please define the author's purpose looking at the label of the bottle. Here, information about children's pain and fever reducer medicine is provided on the label of the bottle. Please think about what is the author's purpose here. Yes, dear learners, if you have chosen the first category, that is to inform, you are right. Because here the author is giving information how to use the medicine, how to take the medicine, and here he is providing us with factual information, and we can say that the author's purpose is to inform the reader. Let's move on. Here we have a passage. Please read it in 30 seconds and define what is the author's purpose: to inform, to persuade, or to entertain. Alright, dear students, if you have chosen the third category, that is to entertain, your answer is correct. Because this passage is a short story, and here author's attitude is shown with the third person, like he, she, and main purpose is here to entertain the reader, because the author is sharing the story that has happened and wants to attract the reader's attention. So let's discuss the next example. So here you have 30 seconds more. Read the passage and define the purpose. Yes, dear students, if you have chosen persuade, your answer is correct. You can tell the author wrote this passage to persuade the readers. This is an emotional appeal to do the right thing. It says, turn off the television and read a book. The last sentence encourages the reader to do something. You see here, the author is persuading his or her readers to turn off the TV and read a book. Here is the end of our practice section. I hope you learned how to differentiate the author's purpose. Now, let's turn to talking more about point of view. So, the author's point of view is the way an author looks at a topic or the ideas being described. Viewpoint includes the content and the language used to present the data. You see here we have like a text where the ideas are described, and these viewpoints include the content where the ideas are described, and what is important here, it is the language that is used by the author. So instruction for author's viewpoint helps students, or let's say readers, read in order to identify the validity of information. Readers identify words and phrases that show an author's strong feelings for or against or a person, group, or issue, let's say. They identify selections that present various perspectives on a topic. Readers learn to identify stated or unstated viewpoints. And here we have 4 questions that helps us to determine an author's point of view. When you start reading a passage, you can ask these questions, these 4 questions yourself, and you can easily define what was the author's point of view here. Sometimes it's easy to recognize an author's point of view. Other times you need to analyze the text carefully to detect the point of view. In these cases, these 4 questions help you to define. So the first one, it is, what main idea is the author trying to convince readers to agree with? Second one is, how does the author's choice of words influence how readers think about the topic? Third one is, how does the author's choice of facts or examples influence how readers think about the topic? And the last one is, what does the author want to accomplish in this text? While reading any type of passage, please try to find out answers to these 4 questions. Then you can understand what is the author's point of view. Now it's time to practice to define the author's point of view. Here we have an example. This is a passage about a lifestyle in farm. Please read it in 30 minutes and try to find the answers to 4 questions that we have mentioned on the above slide. Now, let's ask these 4 questions to determine the author's point of view in the text. So, if you have paid attention, the passage contains several paragraphs, and we will define the author's point of view according to the information that is provided in the paragraphs. So, the first question was, what main idea is the author trying to convince readers to agree with? In the second sentence, the author says, however, running a successful farm is extremely challenging, requiring a lot of hard work and perseverance. The sentence directly states the author's point of view. The author's point of view on the topic of farm life is that the farm life is not relaxing, but extremely challenging because it requires a lot of hard work and perseverance. Here we have analyzed the answer to the first question. Now let's move to the second question. And it was, how does the author choose the words that influence how readers think about the topic? In the second sentence, the author uses the words challenging, hard work, perseverance to describe farm life. These words have very different meaning from the word relaxing. This contrast leads readers to understand the farm life is the exact opposite of what they might think. So we can see this in the second paragraph as well. The author uses the phrases every single morning or every single day to emphasize the reader that work on a farm never ends. So here you can see the analysis to the second question. Now let's move to the third question, and it is, how does the author's choice of facts or examples influence how readers think about the topic? In the second paragraph, the author shows how much hard work and perseverance farm life requires by providing numerous examples. You can see the examples here on your screen. These examples contradict the view the farm life is relaxing and show instead that farm life is actually very challenging. Reading this passage might convince city people to change their minds about what farm life is actually like. And we can see the answer to the fourth question, and it is logically connected with the third one. And the fourth question is, what does the author want to accomplish in this text? In the last sentence, the author tells city people, so if you think you will find rest and relaxation in farm life, think again. This passage shows how incorrect most city people's view of farm life is. The author wants to change how most city people think of farm life. You see here, the author's purpose is to change city people think about the farm life. So now you are ready to determine an author's point of view or purpose in a text and explain how it's conveyed. Now let's move to the steps to define the purpose and point of view. The first step that you should have is read the selection carefully, because you need it to define the purpose first of all, then the point of view of author. Then, while reading, try to catch that try to differentiate the purpose and point of view. Then, please define whether the selection is fiction or non-fiction. For more additional information, I can say that a fiction piece is from the author's imagination and it is not based on facts. These pieces will be stories usually, and the purpose of fiction is to entertain the reader, and fiction creates a mood, a feeling you get from reading the selection. The mood could be happy, sad, scary, angry, peaceful, and etc. Let's discuss what is non-fiction. Non-fiction, with its name, it says they are not based on imagination, they are based on facts and author's opinion about the subject. Non-fiction pieces could be biographies, articles from textbooks, newspapers, and magazine articles, and the purpose here is to inform, and sometimes it can be to persuade as well. So, dear learners, here is the end of our today's lesson. Thank you very much for your attention. Now it's time to homework. So, on the screen, on the left of your screen, you can see reading passage. Please read the passage carefully and define the author's purpose and point of view with the questions that are given below the text. Here you have 4 questions that we have discussed with you. Here, please try to answer the questions from the passage. So, this is the end of today's lesson. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you learned something new from our today's lesson. Thank you very much. If you have any questions or suggestions regarding to the online lessons, do not hesitate to contact with me at masilma.usman@gmail.com or through the link on Telegram. Thank you very much.